I'm doing them in 5, basically. I'm gonna order them in
stop.
5.
Everything. Fire everything right fucking now.
Okay, I'll fire everything now. I just was finishing
Step
talking
out.
to Marcus and
Step out.
Okay, I'm gonna talk to Marcus.
Step out. Get the fuck off my expo chef now! Get the fuck off!
Whilst The Bear is categorized as a comedy drama TV show, I feel like that's really funny considering whilst there are moments where there's definitely a bit of comedy, a bit of laughter, I'd never call it a comedy drama. I mean, sure, there is comedy deep within the actual context of what the characters are talking about and what they're going through, but ultimately I think the focus of the show is the grief, change, and the acceptance that the characters all have to go through. I mean, I suppose the comedy is there to mask the depressing bits, but that's just like in real life, which I suppose is one of the things that makes the show so realistic about how people actually go through grief. And during this video, I want to discuss how the show represents grief, change, and acceptance. The system. Amazing, right? The system is the way the shop used to be run before Carmy took it over, as the family/staff say. And the staff and the cousin Richard, who's also part of the staff, I mean, to them, the system represents Mikey and his memory. You know, it's Mikey's system. And it's how he used to run the place, and therefore the family of the beef don't want to lose that old system when Carmy takes over and wants to change it. I mean, changing the beef would mean losing the memory of the family, whilst in reality they just don't want to lose the memory of Mikey, which they wouldn't, but it feels like it due to Mikey having created the system for them. I mean, from episodes 1 to 8, the system slowly changes to a far better and functional system than before, and the crew and / the family actually prefer it, but that is the whole point. In a way, the change that happens to the system is a representation of the grief that the staff of the beef had to go through in order to get over Mikey's death. However, it's not that simple for our main family members who knew Mikey outside of the restaurant, as a brother and as a best friend. Now that we've talked about the system, I want to go over Carmy, because he is really amazingly portrayed in the show as this really broken man who's just trying to hold all together for everyone else. At the start of the show, he doesn't want to take time and grieve the death of his brother. You know, he tries to avoid it at all costs. He tries to get on with work and save the failing restaurant. He isn't too concerned with how other people are feeling about the loss of Mikey either, which causes a lot of arguments with Carmy and other people. Carmy seems to hold resentment with his brother never giving the acceptance that he wanted, and this kind of goes back to the closure that I was talking about earlier. Whilst Carmy makes an effort throughout the series to get over his brother, he doesn't seem to be making the same progress as everyone else. In episode 7, whilst all the rest of the family are doing well, they're happy, Carmy loses temper really quick, to the point where everything goes back to the way it was during episode 1, if you remember the tension. People are shouting on top of one another, bumping into one another. 2 people walk out because of Carmy's temper. I believe this to be a metaphor towards the actual bear that Carmy is letting out of himself and not being able to control it. I mean, due to the pressures he faced in the high-class kitchens, he forgets that the environment is completely different in the beef. You know, it's more family than this really strict run kitchen where it has to be done perfect, otherwise it's useless. Richard tells Carmy that the spaghetti is a classic and needs to stay on the menu in the first episode of the show. The spaghetti was the beef's best seller, according to Richard and the staff, but Carmy refuses to continue to serve it. In the midst of the argument, Richard claims that the reason that Carmy doesn't want to do it is because he couldn't figure it out. Carmy couldn't figure out how to make the spaghetti? No, that's not it. It's not that he doesn't know how to make the pasta or the sauce, but it's because the spaghetti is the family's meal. During a flashback in the later episodes, we see the family with Mikey, the sister, Sugar, Richard as the cousin / best friend, and Carmy. And whilst Mikey tells a funny story, we can see him making the spaghetti and other food. I mean, clearly this dish connects so deep with Carmy that he can't bear to make it, nor can he apparently get it right. It seems like Carmy can't figure out the secret ingredient to making it. The secret ingredient was the fact that it was prepared and served every Sunday as a family meal. That's what made the dish so special and delicious. But for Carmi, it's now nothing more than a painful reminder of his brother and the past that he used to have. So when in the final episode, Carmi opens the letter and it reveals his brother's last message to him, which is the family meal spaghetti, Carmi finally faces the dish that is so ever special to him and starts preparing, to quote Carmi, an under-seasoned, over-sauced, gooey, mushy bullshit. A simple, non-complicated dish that only has a few ingredients and steps to it, but holds all the answers. Because as Carmi is opening the small can of tomatoes, he finds a stack of cash. All of the cans of tomatoes hold stacks and stacks of cash in them. Had Carmi earlier faced his grief, he wouldn't have to go through all the troubles he just did to keep the restaurant alive. However, everything that did just happen between wasn't a waste. Carmi did successfully rebuild the restaurant's reputation and made the family inside the restaurant even stronger than before by teaching them their full potential they all have. Yes, even Ricky's.